For what seemed an age, countless hearts wrestled with one agonizing question. Could the raw, persistent grief of losing someone intrinsically woven into your very being, someone who defined a part of you words fail to grasp, ever truly lessen? The sorrow never vanished. It lingered, a steadfast shadow in the sleepless quiet of night, inhabiting the silences where laughter once echoed, now leaving only emptiness. Heavy burden of their absence was a constant reminder that certain wounds, irrespective of time's passage, stubbornly refused to mend. The relentless cycle of what acts played on repeat in the mind. What if you'd acted differently? What if you'd spoken the unsaid words? What if their departure was an inescapable reality? Grief became an entity, a presence darkening every aspect of life, silently eroding the spirit. It offered no respite, no softening, demanding never to be forgotten. Its murmurs were constant, even in mundane moments, a heavy mantle worn not by choice, but seemingly by destiny. But then what if, just for one heart-stopping instant, you dared to contemplate the impossible? What if the foundations of everything you understood about loss, destiny, and love itself were suddenly, irrevocably shattered? Imagine Amy, who had painstakingly rebuilt her existence day by day, learning to bear the crushing weight of Ty's absence, her husband. Her partner, the very core of her world, finding herself on the precipice of an unforeseen miracle. She had ceased even daring to hope. For Ty, the man she lost so abruptly, so definitively, is standing right there breathing. And he hasn't just returned to resume their old life. No, Ty is back bearing a truth so stark, so profoundly soul-altering. It threatens to dismantle everything Amy believed about their love, their future, and the fragile reality she constructed after his departure. He carries an apology, yes, but more than that, a confession born from the deepest anguish, the heaviest remorse, and an unyielding love that defied years of separation and silence. It's a love so potent, so enduring, it could destabilize the very life Amy thought she was condemned to rebuild alone. This isn't merely a second chance. It's a confrontation, a challenge to every accepted truth. Amy's entire being will be tested as the love she believed lost to time, grief, and fate resurfaces, as powerful and undeniable as ever. Ty's return isn't just a miracle. It's the catalyst for a firestorm set to sweep through their lives, testing forgiveness, loyalty, and the very nature of healing in ways neither could have foreseen. It will challenge Amy's perception of herself, the solitary future she envisioned, and the resilience she thought she had already summoned. The morning sun streams over Heartland Ranch, bathing the fields in gold as if nature itself senses the impending seismic shift. Horses graze calmly, tails swishing, oblivious to the brewing storm. Even the usually wine-swept grasses seem still, the world holding its breath for something or someone unimaginable. Amy steps outside, her gaze distant, her heart still burdened by years of sorrow and that persistent gnawing ache. Each morning follows a pattern, raising Lindy, supporting the family, projecting strength for Jack Lou, and everyone else. But inwardly, she knows the truth. She hasn't healed, merely adapted to living with the voids Ty left. Today, however, feels altered. The sunrise, though warm, feels different, the atmosphere charged, anticipating a revelation Amy isn't prepared for. Seeking refuge, she enters the barn, finding solace in the familiar sense of hay and leather, the quiet presence of the horses. Spartan, her loyal gelding, stands restlessly, head high, ears twitching, sensing an approach. So Amy reaches to soothe him, her hand unsteady, murmuring calming words as her pulse races with an unidentifiable energy. Something about this morning feels too charged, too electric. Then she perceives it faint at first, almost dismiss the sound of hoofbeats on the earth, a familiar rhythm. As it intensifies, realization crashes over her. That specific cadence, it's unmistakable. It's Ty's. Her breath hitches. Her body reacts before her mind processes. Setting down the grooming brush, her legs trembling, she moves towards the barn entrance, each step heavy, uncertain. Squinting against the rising sun, she sees a figure emerge beyond the fence line, initially a blur in the morning mist. But as the figure draws nearer, doubt evaporates. It's him, Ty. Alive, the impossible stands before her, fracturing her perception of reality. She witnessed his death, held him in his final moments, buried him, mourned him. Yet here he is, riding towards her as if no time had elapsed. No grave existed, none of the years of heartache mattered. Her heart pounds, a maelstrom of terror and hope warring within her. Doubts assail her mind, battling the undeniable truth her heart instinctively recognizes. It is him. As Ty halts his horse before the barn, dust swirling like an apparition, Amy struggles to breathe. They lock eyes for a long, torturous moment, two souls torn apart by time and death, now impossibly reunited. Then, with a cry that pierces the stillness, Amy runs. She collides with his chest, the impact almost unseating him. But he's solid, real, tangibly alive. His arms envelop her, holding her tightly, as if fearing she might dissolve like a dream. She sobs against his familiar jacket, inhaling his scent leather sweat, that unique essence of Ty. In that instant, nothing else exists, not the ranch, not the world, only the overwhelming, staggering reality of his presence. I'm here, Ty whispers, his voice raw broken. I'm here. I promise I'm not leaving again. The distant sound of her name being called, the shuffle of approaching family, fades into white noise. Amy clings to him, terrified to release her grip, afraid he'll vanish. Eventually, the outside world intrudes. Amy pulls back slightly, enough to see his face older, weathered, his eyes shadowed by experiences she cannot yet comprehend. I never meant to leave you, he says, voice trembling with emotion. This wasn't accidental. Then unfolds the fractured, desperate account of a choice made in extremis, a decision that ripped them apart and irrevocably altered their destiny. But amidst the tumbling secrets, a new, burning question surfaces in Amy's chest. How is this possible? Why did she cradle what she thought was his lifeless form? Why did the doctors pronounce him lost? Why did she mourn a man who was never truly gone? Looking into Ty's tear-filled eyes, she knows one thing with chilling certainty. The answers will change everything. He explains the shock of seeing his own near-death state. The doctors hadn't lied about the severity. But at the 11th hour, a specialized covert team intervened, proposing a high-risk procedure with minimal survival odds. The condition: absolute secrecy for the operation and recovery. Ty had to disappear, vanish from public record with no guarantee of success. A grave threat existed, an organized entity that had targeted him specifically. If they discovered he survived, they wouldn't stop at him. They would come for Amy and Lindy. He speaks the words like a confession, admitting he pleaded with doctors, authorities, even Jack and Lou to maintain the facade, to let the world believe he was dead. Amy listens, arms wrapped defensively around herself, shaking uncontrollably. Each word feels like a betrayal. Why? She finally asks, her voice thick with anger and hurt. Why wasn't I trusted? Couldn't I have handled it? Couldn't I have faced it instead of the crushing loneliness you left me with? Ty's expression crumples. He insists the deception was the only way. Exposure meant certain death, not just for him, but potentially for anyone he loved. Guilt weighs heavily on him, the knowledge of her suffering, her solitary grief, Lindy growing up fatherless. He describes the daily torture of his absence, the constant yearning to reach out, countered by the paralyzing fear that contact equated to danger. It's too much, too overwhelming. Yet beneath the shock, a part of Amy recognizes the love motivating his actions, a desperate attempt to shield her and their child. But another part, raw and visceral, screams betrayal. How dare he deny her the right to choose, the right to fight alongside him, as they always had. The internal conflict is agonizing: rage versus relief, fury versus the desperate pull of his presence. Her gaze shifts to Jack, the barn by the barn, hat clutched, his face a map of endured burdens, a mix of sorrow and relief. Behind him, Lou stands pale, eyes glistening with unshed tears. So everyone knew. Amy's voice, taut with contained emotion, finally breaks the charged silence. She demands answers. How many nights did they witness her breakdown? How many hollow mornings did she endure while they guarded this colossal secret? The scale of the deception feels like a collapsing world. The air crackles with tension, the weight of the revealed truth pressing down. Ty's expression is a blend of fear and determination. He understands her anger, expected it, but insists he couldn't risk making her or Lindy targets. No apology can erase the years of phantom grief. Amy feels trapped between residual love and the searing wound of his lies. Yet she's looking into the eyes of the man she loved beyond measure, the man she thought lost forever. Her heart flickers with an undeniable joy at his presence, even as betrayal digs deeper. Could she ever trust him again? The words escape involuntarily, brutal in their honesty. I don't know if I can forgive you. She hates saying it, but it's the truth. She fought so hard to rebuild, to breathe without him, and now, facing him, she confronts the wreckage of a life built on his supposed death. Ty's voice cracks, mirroring his own agony. I'll wait, however long it takes. He offers to stay peripherally, do anything to prove he won't abandon her again. His tears of regret, pain, longing cut through her defenses. She sees not just her pain reflected, but the silent torment he endured. Without conscious thought, Amy steps towards him, drawn by the gravity of the moment, allowing him to hold her again, just briefly, the need for his warmth overwhelming after so long. The hours following feel surreal, time distorted. The usually bustling ranch seems frozen in a strange limbo. Lou hovers, wanting to intervene but respecting Amy's need for space. Jack tries to project calm, acknowledging the miracle while bracing for the emotional fallout. Tim initially keeps his distance, sharp eyes observing Ty, a flicker of resentment for the pain caused mixed with deep-seated relief. Overwhelmed, Amy seeks refuge in the barn loft, her steps slow, hesitant. She sinks onto an old wooden bench by the window, gazing at the tranquil, sunlit fields, untouched by the internal storm raging within her. Her mind is chaos. She remains there for what feels like an eternity, the silence punctuated only by the rustle of hay and soft horse sounds from below. Then the ladder creaks. Ty ascends, slowly, cautiously respecting the fragile truce. He settles nearby, leaving deliberate space. The silence stretches, taut, and delicate. When Amy finally speaks, her voice is low, cracked, reflecting her fractured heart. She doesn't demand more apologies, but the unvarnished, painful truth about the day he vanished, the day she held his broken form and believed him gone. Ty takes a deep, shuddering breath before recounting the chaos. Unfamiliar uniformed men, not police, pulling him from death's edge, the disguised ambulance, being drugged, whisked away to a secret facility for desperate, clandestine medical procedures. Months of recovery behind locked doors, isolated, while danger loomed. He speaks of unsent letters, lifelines he couldn't dispatch, countless aborted phone calls, paralyzed by the fear of leading the threat back to her. His voice breaks, describing the agony of knowing her suffering, her grief, while he remains silent, believing it the only protection. Amy listens, silent tears tracing paths on her cheeks. Each word simultaneously heals and wounds, a reliving of the nightmare from his haunted perspective. When he finishes, she speaks softly, an edge to her tone. She understands the why she tells him, but it doesn't negate the devastation, the years of loss, the life rebuilt from fragments. Should he have trusted her more, she wonders aloud, trusted her to face the danger with him, not shield her by disappearing? Ty lowers his head, grief and regret etched on his features. He swears he'd rewrite the past if he could, change every agonizing choice. Now, all he can offer is his broken, breathing presence in the attempt to rebuild. The following day brings a tense equilibrium to the ranch, a storm waiting to break, yet underscored by fragile hope. Tim confronts Ty by the paddock. A long silence hangs between them, two men linked by history, pain, and love for Amy. Then Tim curses softly, strides forward, and pulls Ty into a rough, back-slapping embrace, half anger, half overwhelming relief. You damn fool, he mutters, voice thick. Lou oscillates nearby, part lawyer, part protective sister, already listing practical complications, death certificates, finances, property deeds pacing erratically, a whirlwind of relieved tears and anxious energy. Georgie observes from a distance, memories of Ty as a mentor flooding back. Eventually, she approaches, silent but resolute, hugging him fiercely, clinging as if to an anchor she thought was lost. Later, Amy rides out alone to the familiar grove, seeking the solace of the old tree bearing their carved initials. Ty follows on horseback, maintaining a respectful distance. When she dismounts, she doesn't speak, just rests her hand on the rough bark, grounding herself. Ty joins her, standing nearby, a silent offering of presence without intrusion. She murmurs, acknowledging the space he's given her. Then, voice raw breaking, she speaks the words weighing on her since his return. I never stopped loving you. A pause. But trust, that will take time. Ty's eyes gleam. He nods, solemn. I'm not going anywhere. They stand together, gazing at the scarred bark, symbols of a past now irrevocably changed, knowing the path ahead will be arduous, earned. That evening, the family gathers around the long dinner table for the first time in what feels like an age. Lindy, oblivious to the complex emotional undercurrent, chatters about school. Georgie mentions an upcoming competition, attempting normalcy. Tim and Lou fall into familiar, playful bickering over business, laughter momentarily easing the tension. At the table's head, Jack sits quietly, his weathered face etched with a fierce tenderness as he observes the impossible reality of Ty alive present. Amy watches Ty interact with Lindy, seeing the food on his plate. The pain hasn't vanished, the tremor in her soul remains, but a small, genuine smile touches her lips, fragile yet hopeful. For all they've lost and all they must face, Ty meets her gaze, returning the smile, a silent promise exchanged. Later, as stars blanket the sky, Amy and Ty step onto the porch. Crickets chirp, horses are faint silhouettes in the moonlight. Amy rests her head against Ty's shoulder. They aren't healed, far from it, but there's solace in surviving another day together. I'm sorry, Ty murmurs again for everything. Leaning into his warmth, Amy simply replies, I know. The true work starts now, forging a future that honors the lost years, the deep hurt, and the resilient love that endured. It won't be simple. There will be arguments, tears, setbacks, and steps forward, underpinned by a persistent tenderness. The ranch, with its steady rhythms and quiet wisdom, bears witness to the slow mending of what was broken. The family, scarred but resolute, begins the process of healing together. Lindy starts discovering the simple joy of having her father back for bedtime stories, for fishing trips by the creek. Amy learns that healing isn't about pretending the pain didn't happen, but about standing amidst the ruins and choosing to cultivate hope. It might take months, perhaps years, but Ty is present, determined to remain. That crushing weight in Amy's chest eases slightly with each sunrise she witnesses beside him, each time she can look at him and see not just the ghost of her grief, but the warmth of his presence returning. The future remains unwritten, but a new current flows through Heartland, a sense that miracles might occur, that love can withstand unimaginable trials, that sometimes the most painful goodbyes pave the way for unexpected chances. The ranch breathes with a cautious optimism, a belief that this family, battered by loss and secrecy, can find its way back to a solid, unified future. For Amy and Ty, the journey ahead isn't about erasing the past, but integrating every part of their story, trusting that the love deeply rooted in their shared history is strong enough to endure the storms yet to come. If you followed Heartland's journey, you understand that challenges forge resilience within this family. Ty's return from the precipice of death is perhaps their greatest test yet, stretching Amy's heart, challenging Lindy's world, and demanding profound forgiveness and rebuilding from them all. But one truth resonates through these hills. Genuine love, when subjected to immense pain, can emerge tempered and stronger, gleaming with the promise that even after the darkest night, dawn will arrive. Thank you for sharing this journey. Amy and Ty's story is far from concluded, and that may be its most poignant aspect, lives interwoven with love, loss, and hope, forging something unbreakable against the unthinkable. With this second chance seemingly etched in fate, we witness the potential for hearts to mend, trust to rebuild, and love, when authentic, to truly endure. Thank you for being here, for investing in their path, and for allowing your own heart to connect with this extraordinary narrative. The best chapters may still lie ahead. Out here, beneath the vast open sky, anything feels possible.